Yeah, we are back here at the Azure channel with Tao Yang. Welcome, Tao.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah, great to have you back. And you're going to go for another blog post that you wrote about Azure Policy monitoring, how you create alerts when there is some no compliance, let's say, happening, and you wrote a blog explaining how to use Azure functions and how to integrate that. And I thought it was very, very important to share that with the community, not just in a blog post, in a video. Yeah, if you want to share your screen. If you don't know Tao is an Azure MVP, is a member of the Azure Tao, has a few videos here with us, and is a friend. We live both in Melbourne, Australia. And if you don't follow us, just follow and subscribe and hit the ringy bell there to get the notifications. All yours, Tao. Yeah, I can see your blog.
Hey, everyone. So a bit background here. About 2.5 years ago, I actually posted another blog on the IT Ops, Microsoft IT Ops blog channel, IT Ops Talk. So this blog was, is managed by a bunch of Microsoft Cloud advocates. One of my good friend, Oren Thomas, who's also living in Melbourne, and he introduced me to the folks and asked me to write a guest blog. So I wrote a topic on how to monitor non-compliant Azure resources using Azure Monitor. So as you can see, this one over the last 2.5 years has got about 26,000 views. And but however, about 6 or 8 months ago, I started getting emails, and people told me that this this solution I developed stopped working. So the old solution was basically using a very complex query in Azure Monitor in Log Analytics to grab the non-compliant result. But there's a platform change recently that the policy engine stopped sending the compliance information to Azure Activity Log, which was consumed by this original solution. So I've been approached by several PMs in the Azure Policy team and asked me to update it. So during the Christmas holiday, I've got a couple months free, off. So I thought, I'll develop a new solution for this purpose, which is, I think, many customers we've talked to, they're all asking the same question. So, it's great that we, configure policy, but how do we actually consume and get notified when something is non-compliant? Because you don't always set like the deny policy. Sometimes you just want policy to audit when something is not configured as per your standard. But how do you get notified when a non-compliant resources has been detected? So I had this idea, and this has been sitting on my whiteboard in my office for a few months. Because in Azure Policy, the two ways we can get the compliance result. Firstly, Azure Policy you can configure to push those events into Event Grid, and secondly, Azure Resource Graph can be used to query non-compliant result. Microsoft has actually got a query sample querying here on how to do that using Resource Graph. So in my mind, I had two possible solutions. One is to use Event Grid to get the events, and then use a function app to pump that into Log Analytics using the Log Analytics has got a HTTP injection API. And secondly, or we can use another function to run a schedule job to query the compliance state using Resource Graph. in the end, I thought using the Event Grid option is more cost effective because it's a push mechanism instead of pulling. And since Azure Resource Graph is a free resource, it actually has a limit, has a rate limit on, how often you can use it. And in a large environment, that might not be viable when you have like tens or hundreds of subscriptions, right? So
yep.
I thought a better way, a easier way and a more economic way is to use a push mechanism to use the Event Grid. So, you have Azure Policy push the events to Event Grid, and then Azure Monitor has to use log analytics as a source data to generate alert. So there's a missing piece here. How do we get events from Event Grid to log analytics? So and the missing piece is like I basically wrote a Python function to ingest whatever is being passed from the Event Grid to log analytics. So that's the solution I developed.
Now, just if I understood, the first blog that you did on Tech Microsoft blog was using the Azure Resource Graph, correct?
No, the first one was just plain using a Crystal query because in the old days, Azure Policy was able to get to push the compliance result to activity log. Then, as long as you configure log analytics to collect those activity, then there's no middleman you need here. But since that's not working anymore, so we have to have a function as middleman. Yeah.
Yeah. And, so and you don't have to implement both on the other one, on the other blog.
No, just no. So it's only just the Event Grid. Event Grid. I did not implement the other one because it's way too complicated and I don't think it is scaled well.
Okay, just go for that push Event Grid function here, and you don't have to do the Azure Resource Graph.
So so this is what I end up implementing. So we have like say for example, if you have like a hub and spoke environment, you have like a management sub, and then you have like more than one resource or landing zone subs. So you just create a one function app in the management sub, and then in any subsequent landing zone subscriptions, all you need to do is just create an Event Grid subscription to push that to the function app, and then that's it. So that's the solution.
Yeah, I think that one thing I like on Azure is, I think the last 2 years we start using integrating Event Grid on pretty much most of the servers. You can do that on API management. We can do that on most of our servers. And if you never use, just give a go and look there on events now on any on the Azure portal you can see and you can integrate. And that's great that you're using like a serverless Azure functions and the native Event Grid to do that.
Yes. So in the solution I provided, I basically put on a public GitHub repo. Everyone can get to it. Not only I provided the code for the function app, which is as you can see is just a very simple Python function. I literally just copy the code from the code samples in the doc side. How to ingest that into log analytics using Python, and I basically just copy pasted 2 blocks of code from sample and it just start working. So and also I provided the templates to create everything, right? The Event Grid, the topic and the subscriptions, and also the function app template is in here as well. And not only that, I also provide a pipeline, Azure pipeline that stitches everything together and implement it in order with, you have like a test and a build. stage and do the bicep template validation, and then run like what if deployment to get the results, and then build function app, deploy it, the whole lot. So if the end result is that if you deploy create the pipeline as per my blog post, you would have something like that, right? So you have like a test and build stage, then deploy to dev and deploy to prod, and then you can put various checks and approvals for the production stage.
That's amazing, Tao. That's a very complete solution.
Yes.
I mean, you have the pipeline. You could be using like Terraform or something else, using Bicep. That was great. And
yeah,
like the main things here is like the event grid configuration that you're using Bicep to do it. And you're also using Bicep to create Azure functions.
Yes.
And you're probably building the code as well. You're creating, and you just deploy on Azure functions. Well, you have done all the job there. People are going to really enjoy that.
Yeah. So I've got like steps that I build the function app, and then deploy function app.
The only thing I see, Tao, people want to maybe change there if they want to replace log analytics with something else. If they're using Splunk or using something else, and they have just to rewrite the Azure Functions code, the Python code, to send all those alerts to anywhere.
Yeah.
If you're using Splunk, App Dynamics, or anything that you'll be using, it's just what
I mean, if there's like a HTTP endpoint or webhook or whatever, that your system, your alerting system has to allow you to ingest data, that could be the case. But in this case, because I'm only focusing on Azure Monitor, so log analytics.
That will be most of the customers doing that pretty much. Yes. But there is always, some people want to, or maybe send like for more than one. If you want to send for, log analytics in another one, you can maybe do that there as well.
Yes. So in log analytics, there's another feature. I think that's recently just became available in public preview. I can't remember the exact name. It's basically is exporting as you ingesting data into log analytics. At the same time, you can export it to a Event Grid. Event Hub. But from Event Hub, you can ingest that into Splunk. Right. So that could be another option.
That's another option as well. You can send to one. This one going to send to the other.
Yes. And I just can't remember the exact name.
It's just one step more. If you maybe someone wanna do like a pull request and write like a functions for, Splunk or something else, maybe a nice addition, improvement there.
Yeah, but you shouldn't talking about Splunk, George. You work for Microsoft.
No, any product from customers, any open source maybe or whatever.
I'm just kidding. Right. So if I'm I've got this requirement from a customer, I can literally from my point of view, this solution is almost production ready. There's very little I need to change. If the customer has got some like further testing requirements, I'm probably need to put more tests here, like do a code scan or whatever. But there's really little I need to change. The only thing I can think of is that for the function app, you might want to consider using private link. But then you have the app hosting plan as app hosting environment, right, which is significantly more expensive than the one I'm using, which is just like a consumer consumption plan, right? So, but if you're working in a big enterprise, you probably want to configure your function to use to use a private link. So that's probably the only thing I can think of.
And have you done any like workbook or anything like to show that on Azure Monitoring, like a dashboard or?
I did not create a workbook, but I think I probably got I've got a query, a sample query you can use
Okay.
to detect, to create the alerts. Yeah.
Where you create like a table, where exactly you inserting that?
So in the function app, in the Python code, you have, I actually hard coded the name of the table.
Okay.
Let me just show you.
Yeah, just in case someone has like a name convention or something, and
Yeah, so the log type is policy insights, but when you ingest any custom logs into log analytics, we'll just append that name with _CL. CL stands for custom log. So this is basically this becomes the table name in log analytics. And in here, that's why in here, I'm just querying this table here, policy insights CL. And you can see that, you know, if you have any non-compliant resource detected, you know, it's working when you see the like results returned.
and then you can create a workbook from that.
Yeah, you can create a workbook, you can create alerts, you can consume the data whatever you want.
Yeah, and if you don't know how to create a workbook, Tao has another video here on Azure Tao explaining how to create a workbook. I can put a link here later, and yeah, you can go and look at how to do that.
Yeah. So once the alert is created, alert rule is created, and hopefully you start seeing this type of emails. Because I'm using email, but you can use other actions. It shows the email shows you the query that it ran and also the top 10 results that's generated. But you can just click on this link to see the result in Log Analytics workspace if you want to. So yeah, so pretty.
Where's that email coming from? Oh.
So that email is coming from Azure Monitor alerts. Once you create an alert, and
you're creating an alert.
I configured it to send that to my lab's email address. So
but you're doing that on the automation already? You're doing that on the bicep or not?
The alert is not part of my code because the environment is different. The requirement is different for everyone. So basically, I think I've done previously. I've done some previously presentations on how to do that, how to create alerts using Azure Pipeline. I did a couple of presentations with Alex Lokinderan a couple of years ago.
I think we talk about that. We have two videos here. We did like Azure Monitoring part 1 and part 2.
Yeah.
I think part 2 is workbooks, but the part 1 we talk about alerts as well.
Yes.
Then you can watch both. I'll put a link here on the description.
Yeah.
And you can watch both parts and where you explain that as well.
Yeah. So the solution I implemented was just, you know, taking the data from taking the information from Azure Monitor, ship that to Log Analytics, and it stops there. However you want to consume the data, then it's a separate requirement. So
that's great.
For me, I just manually created a test alert in the portal, make sure it's working. But this is the result I'm getting. So whenever I put a dummy policy assignment there, so everything without a particular tag will get audited, and I never use the tag. So whenever time I create anything in my lab environment, I get bombarded by these alert emails, so I know it's working. So yeah.
And I think there's one nice thing here. There's a feedback for the product team. If you're watching these and you think that maybe that could be like a out of the box feature on Azure.
Exactly.
Then on Azure Policy, you know, just put a comment there on the Microsoft blog that Tao wrote. Let people know that's something that would be, if it could be out of the box, then it'd be even better. I think in the future maybe it's going to be, but it's nice to have more feedbacks, and maybe people are already asking for that there.
Yeah, some people like replied my email in here, and I think some Microsoft people there as well. And also, I got like 2 separate PMs from Azure Policy team emailing me directly and told me this is not working. And I think it would be nice if this one would become like an out-of-box capability without having to implement a third-party solution just to connect the dots. So, of course, what's missing is how do we consume that once the logs gets to Event Hub.
Yeah, in Azure Monitor, I think we have layers. We have a premium as well, or something. Maybe for some customers, it would be nice if they at least on the premium layer or something. But it's up to the product team, and we always cloud is an improvement every day. And but that's nice. I mean, you have a end-to-end solution. Go dig on the GitHub and on the blog post. And thanks a lot. I think that's it. There's anything else that we're gonna show?
The only thing I want to mention is that this is I developed this using Azure DevOps. So if you want to use it, just maybe clone my repo and create a project in Azure DevOps. Copy the code in there, and then just set up all the supporting stuff for the pipeline, like all the variables you need to create, all the service connections, everything here. But that's all documented in my blog post. My good friend and MVP Kevin Green recently did a video showcase this before Christmas, and he reached out to me and asked me. He had a few questions, and then managed to replicate this and set up this in his Azure DevOps environment just within a couple of hours. So I don't think it's very complicated if you just follow this.
That's amazing. If someone want to do it on GitHub Actions, let us know as well. And then if you can record with someone that if you want to clone that and try to do on GitHub Actions or you want to do on App Dynamics, Splunk or any other logging system, let us know, and maybe we can publish that as well.
Yep.
That's great, Tao.
Great.
Thanks.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, follow us and follow the links I'm going to put here for the other Azure monitoring videos. And there are videos here from Terraform, and if you want to learn Bicep as well, there's a video Tao comparing Terraform with Bicep. And thanks for watching. Bye, Tao.
Thank you. Bye.